Welcome to the Manufacturing Shakeup. We're your hosts, Ellen Feldman-Ornato
and Jenny Drescher. We're talking with dynamic women from across the manufacturing scene in Connecticut. Calling all talent. Hey, talent out there. You ever feel like that's you when you're at a career fair and you're looking around going, I want talent for my company. I want talent for my plant. Where are they? Friends, we're going to challenge you a little bit today to think about how are you going about your talent search? Are you sending people out to these career fairs to stand behind the table and talk to nobody? Who are you sending out? There's so much to think about. We got some insights from today's guest. You're going to love them. Gina Greco from PTA Plastics, welcome to the Shakeup.
Hello, thank you for having me.
We are thrilled that you're here. So I would love for you to share how you ended up. What was your career fair adventure that landed you in an unexpected way? Tell us about it.
Yep. So I graduated from Quinnipiac University, and they had a engineering career fair. Now, I was about to graduate, and truthfully, I didn't have any intention of going to this career fair at all. I was like, oh no, that's scary. I'm going to have to go talk to a bunch of people and like print out my resumes and dress up. That just sounded terrible to me. So one of my professors said, okay, every student that goes to this career fair, we're going to give you a little bit of extra credit. So I'm like, okay, I have to go, at least for like 2 seconds. We had to like take a selfie to prove that we were there or something.
I love it. So, you were bribed.
Yes, yeah. I was totally
bribed to attend the career fair. I love it.
Would not have gone otherwise. So walking along, it ended up working out pretty nice. There were some really cool companies that were there, had a lot of good conversations, and I'm about to leave the career fair when I see one table that had a robot at the table. And the other thing that struck me interesting was that there was several different women at the table. Now, most of the people who were there were males, and it just struck me as something different. Like, okay, maybe this is like someone who might be a little bit easier to talk to, a little less intimidating. Let me go check this out. So I decided to go for one last table, and that ended up being the company that I'm working for today.
Fantastic. So what was it when you looked over at the table, aside from the fact that they had a robot, which is so cool, and you saw some women over there and they felt more approachable? What was the quality of the conversation when you went over there? Like, how were people with you? Because I think Jenny alluded to it in her her introduction. Very often we walk around trade show floors in the work that we do, and we see people staring at their phones and not talking to the people walking by. So what were the people like that were in the booth when you walked up to them?
They straight off the bat were very excited that a girl was walking up to the booth. They admitted it. They're like, oh, a girl, like, how are you? So already like hit it off with a good start. And they found out what I was looking for. And they also found out that I ended up being very local. So those two things kind of sealed the deal for me, at least, that this was something that I was going to be interesting. And when I had walked away, something that I didn't know was that one of my professors actually went up to that table after she saw me leave and started hyping me up to them.
I love it.
Yes.
You got your own hype woman who's going and following you around. That's awesome.
Everybody should have a hype woman.
So just quick follow-up. Was PTA the only company that you interviewed with and the only site that you visited?
They were not, no.
Okay.
There were a couple others, and all of the companies that I did interview with were at that career fair.
Okay.
That's how I had met them.
So can you tell us, just to inform our audience, what does an automation engineer do? And what is your job, your actual job?
So PTA Plastics, as it is in the name, we are an injection molding company. So we make plastic parts with a focus in medical parts, but nothing that goes into the body, just external things. So my job is to automate that process. So traditionally, you would have an operator standing at the molding machine 24/7 after every cycle, reaching in, removing a part from the mold. And ergonomically, that's not always the best. And also, these parts can be very hot as well. So my job is to kind of automate some of those more mundane tasks and implement a robot or something of that nature to help remove that part from the mold and do other secondary operations to it.
So, so that's probably not work you ever expected to do.
No.
And that is wicked cool. I think everything you just described is amazing to me. And the reason, yeah, right? It's like playing with those machines in the diners where you've got a little, like a little
Yes.
claw that comes down. And the reason I wanted to give some definition around that is because if, as we're talking about the career fair thing and the whole interviewing process, we've just shined a light. You've just shined your own light on your own abilities and the complexity of your work and how much you actually do. And so, friends out there who are looking and shopping for top talent, notice how skilled the work is that she just described. And so, my question is, what does your shop look like in terms of curb appeal for top talent like Gina? Gina, I want to dial back over to where we started, which is about the interview process and the places you visited. So now that we know how talented you are, what did it take to have really great talent like you say, oh, okay, I'll try this company on? And what were your adventures and interviews?
So a couple of the previous companies that I had interviewed at, I just instantly did not see myself working there. They were very dark and dingy and outdated. Compared to PTA, you walk in on our molding floor, it's bright, it's colorful. There's robots that are racing around, taking parts out of these molding machines. A lot more higher technology than at these other places that definitely used very outdated equipment.
Did you get more than one job offer?
I did.
Yeah. Okay. So being in an environment, I mean, one of the other podcasts that we recorded recently was with the woman Jennifer Gagione, and what she does is goes into manufacturing environments and looks around at what is the physical space and how does it affect how people feel about the place that they work. So what was the feeling that you walked into? If it wasn't dark and dirty and outdated, what by contrast did PTA look like?
Like I said, with all of the technology and the robots, to me, it just felt like somewhere that I could grow. Obviously, seeing the robots, like, okay, a lot of goes into that. You have to program it. You have to do the design for it so that it can take the parts out of the mold. And that was something that I wasn't really too familiar with, but it was something that I wanted to learn. It was something that interested me. Whereas the other companies were just stuck in the times, and I don't know, I felt like I couldn't see myself growing there as much.
And your degree was in mechanical engineering, right?
Yeah, it was in mechanical engineering. Nothing really to do with automation, coding, robots at all.
So how did that evolution work when you got into your job, when you were hired? How did you go from like what you've been trained in with regard to mechanical engineering? How'd you make the leap into automation? Was it on the job training?
It was on the job training. I'm very fortunate that PTA is very good at sending people to get trained, and they've sent me several times to several different places to get trained on these robots, how to code them, program them. So I was very grateful in that aspect, but also I was always interested in doing design work, and there is a lot of design work that goes into automation as well. Like I said, the end of the robot arm has to be a certain shape, be able to do certain things in order to get these parts out of the mold or perform those tasks. So I was still incorporating engineering, but just adding a little bit of the programming into that.
So it sounds like some of what PTA is getting right that is a good fit for you is they're letting you learn. They're letting you try stuff on. And many of our podcast guests are people who are working on how do we attract young talent into these spaces. So what are the things that you're seeing PTA doing from a culture building perspective that appeal to people like yourself right? Like, you're a hotshot engineer with a lot of talent and a lot of things to do. What are they doing that's helping you to say, yeah, I'm gonna stay here for a while?
Yep.
What are they doing?
Definitely investing in training for myself and my peers. They also invested in myself to go to a trade show. I've been to a conference before. So just like showing that they care and that they are investing in me and they want to see me stay here. They want to see me grow. That's really what means a lot to me.
Mm-hmm.
And then we also have other programs here, like we have a young professionals group, which is really nice to connect with other people who are a little bit younger, like myself. And we also have a little off branch of a women in manufacturing group.
Cool. So how big is your company?
So we have a Connecticut facility and also a facility out in Colorado, and the Connecticut facility is under 200 employees.
Okay. So small enough to know everybody or to have a sense of everybody who's there, but big enough so that you can have a young professionals group or an inside WIM group. That's phenomenal.
You also, one of the things you mentioned in our pre-call was that it's not just that you have these groups, but you're doing something very special that I'd love our audience to learn about, which is you're making extra effort to broadcast these resources into multiple levels of the organization. Can you tell our audience how you're doing that? Because I think it's really important.
Yep. So for our women in manufacturing group, anybody obviously is able to become a member of Women in Manufacturing. But one thing that we do to take it a step further is we just have a simple little Zoom chat where if somebody finds a event hosted by Women in Manufacturing, they can just go in the Zoom chat and be like, hey, I see this really cool event. Is anyone else interested in attending with me? Or if somebody goes to a Women in Manufacturing webinar, oftentimes somebody will say in the chat, hey, just watched this really awesome webinar. You guys should definitely check it out. Here's the link.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So you're sharing that resource more broadly. Do you ever have conversations with that group of people about what you learned and how you're going to apply it?
All the time. Every time there's a webinar or something, there's always some discussion in the chat talking about how we can take that and apply it to our own jobs. So that's really, really fun to read through. And also it definitely helps other people realize like, okay, this is definitely something that I want to spend time doing. Let me check this out.
Fantastic. Yeah.
I feel like you're helping us to write a manual today to help all of our small to medium-sized manufacturers here in Connecticut who are working so hard at the talent game. I feel like you've just given this amazing list of here, do these things, and they help a lot.
It's a talent cookbook, so to speak.
It is a talent cookbook. First ingredient, go have friendly staff at the booth. Yes, for sure.
Bring a robot.
Bring a robot. Bring a robot.
Yeah, we were joking before we started doing the recording. Like, how much did it matter to you what kind of giveaways they had on the table?
I mean, it definitely lured me to the table, but it was more of just what the company does and how I saw myself fit than anything.
Yep. Did you pick up a lot of the printed materials?
Definitely less of the printed materials, more of the stickers than anything. And pens, you have to always find the best pen.
That's right. That's right. There's we were talking about like the quality of the swag. Some things you definitely want, and other things you're like, meh. Yeah. I have 15 chapsticks. Thanks.
I have enough bottle openers, koozies, all that kind of stuff. That's usually what they bring to the Quinnipiac Fair because they're like, college students, they'll love this.
Yeah.
But maybe not so much. Something to rethink, friends. Something to rethink.
We love stickers.
Yes.
What do you say?
My generation loves stickers.
Yes. My generation also loves stickers. Stickers, I'm a Gen Xer. Stickers were all the rage in the 80s, and then they disappeared for a long time. So I am so happy for your generation that stickers came back.
Now back.
So, yes.
On the laptops, the water bottles, the coolers, anything.
Right. Yep.
Yes. Yep. Viva stickers. So I'm gonna land the plane for us today, friends. I have a lot of shakeup factors, but here are the hot shakeup factors that I'm taking away. I hope you'll try these the next time you're going out into the field. Shakeup factor one, robots and women. So we invite you to really notice, who are you putting into these booth spaces? In the war for talent, which is terrible language, but in the competition for talent, it really bears a lot to think about, who am I putting out there as the face of my organization? Are people like Gina going to walk through that career fair and see some version of themselves at that table? Or are they going to see, and this is no offense against the men, we love all the men, but if you want to employ a Gina, a 20-something engineer, do you want to be putting a 50-something man at that table? I'm not saying it's a right or a wrong, but pay attention to, what does this look like for us in our company? How are we going about it? Maybe robots and women. That's a really good one. That's another shakeup factor about tables, is what are you doing to make your booth fun? Right?
Interesting.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah. What is that about? I would attach to that, what is the general attitude of the team that you've got at the table? It sounds deceptively simple to make sure you've got an excited team. But if I had a nickel for every time I have seen a boring team at a table, I would be floating down the Nile in money. So an excited team is something we heard Gina pull forward that matters a lot. And then I guess that's one big giant lumpy shakeup factor. Another shakeup factor that I think matters a whole bunch is, does your physical environment appeal to a young upstart like her? Is she going to look in your place and say, man, there is no way I could see myself working here. This is outdated, dirty, dark. It smells funny. So pay attention to that. The space matters. If you're not sure about that, go back and listen to another episode where we had Jen Gadgian talking about that. So, and wow, I have a million notes, but I feel like those were lumpy shakeup factors that we can all try on. Friends, try those on. Shout back at us on social media and let us know what kind of experiment you're going to run with your booth and see what happens. Gina Greco from PTA Plastics, we have learned so much from you today. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
The Manufacturing Shakeup is sponsored by the Connecticut Office of Manufacturing, produced by Maselli Productions and Gale Communications, and hosted by the Boulder Company.